Welcome to American Press Productions, independent political analysis. These are today's top stories. Ukrainian Prosecutor General Yuriy Lutsenko has opened a probe into alleged interference in the 2016 United States presidential election. He is investigating a claim that the director of Ukraine's Anti-Corruption Bureau attempted to influence the 2016 election in support of Hillary Clinton. A member of the Ukrainian parliament produced a tape for Prosecutor General Lutsenko, which was a recording of a discussion about helping Clinton win the presidential election, as well as damaging files on Paul Manafort about his wrongdoing in Ukraine. One of the voices in the recording is believed to be the director of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. If the claim is made that illegals vote in American elections, Democrats often respond with a dismissive chuckle. They'll remind you that illegal immigrants can't vote, because that is against the law. Much like the idea of a person bringing a gun into a gun-free zone, such as a school. That would never happen, because it's against the law. Recently, a bill was passed by the Democrat-controlled House on voting reform. The bill, which is likely to die in the Senate, would create an automatic voter registration process, so that when people go to the DMV to get a driver's license, they would also be automatically registered to vote. The bill states that the DMV employee is not required to ask the person being registered to vote about their citizenship status, and the person being registered doesn't have to provide it if he is not asked. The bill goes even further and provides legal protection to illegal immigrants who are caught attempting to vote. Per the bill, if the illegal immigrant states that he did not understand that what he was doing was wrong, he is then freed from state or federal prosecution, and his naturalization process will also be unaffected. You might think that subsection of the bill is irrelevant, that illegal immigrants can't get a driver's license, but 12 states have already passed a law to allow illegals to obtain one. In January, joke presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrand stated that she supports illegal immigrants being able to obtain a driver's license nationwide. Gillibrand continued her assault on the sovereignty and rights of the American people on Tuesday when she revealed at a campaign event in Iowa that she also supports allowing illegal immigrants to draw from the Social Security program. In case you are unaware, in 2018, the Social Security program began to expend more than it was taking in, and there are no indications of a reversal. In 2016, illegal immigrants cost the American taxpayer $116 billion. And that estimate includes taxes paid into the system by illegal immigrants. Now, Democrats such as Gillibrand, a New York senator, not only wants to give illegals the ability to obtain a driver's license, to vote, but also draw from the already shrinking retirement fund for American citizens. These politicians are selling out the American people, betraying them, all to secure votes and their political power in the decades to come. There are more updates in the wake of the Christchurch mosque shooting. In an effort to show solidarity with New Zealand's Islamic population, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has announced that the country will broadcast the Muslim call to prayer across the nation on TV and radio this Friday. Jacinda made the announcement while wearing a Muslim headscarf, which she has been wearing since the mosque attack. But it's not just her. Many non-Muslims in New Zealand have donned the headscarf to show their support for the victims, the Muslims, and to show that they won't back down in the face of whatever it is that the terrorist Brenton Tarrant represents, be it white nationalism, white supremacy, or even just being white. A popular picture being shared on social media shows a female New Zealand police officer standing guard at a cemetery during the funerals from the shootings. She is also wearing a Muslim headscarf. New Zealand officers have also taken classes to educate themselves on Islam this week in the very mosque that Brenton Tarrant massacred. Opinions will obviously vary on these actions, but I have one question. Why didn't Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announce that white nationalist rhetoric will be broadcast over the nation's radio and television while wearing white nationalist symbols? Why are members of the New Zealand police force learning Islam instead of educating themselves on the foundations of white nationalism? If these questions are revolting to you, as I'm sure to many they are, I would remind you about the Islamic terror attacks on 9/11, which killed just under 3,000 people. Not long after the attack, plans were made public to build a 13-story Muslim community center 2 blocks from Ground Zero. The people who criticized this decision, who were disgusted by it, horrified by it, were called bigots, racists, xenophobes, and Islamophobes. They were openly shamed for daring to conflate the actions of the Muslim Saudi terrorists with Islam as a whole. But the data shows Islamic terrorism is far more prevalent and kills far more people worldwide than white nationalists. Even in white countries, the obvious home of white nationalism, Muslims, who are a very small minority, carry out far more Islamic terror attacks and kill far more people in white countries than white nationalists do. But as the Christchurch shooting still dominates the worldwide news cycle, the Islamic terror attack in the Netherlands the day after received very little attention. And despite the shooter yelling Allahu Akbar, many authorities and politicians said his motives were unclear and refused to call it Islamic terrorism. Today, a previously convicted drunk driver, who has also been convicted of sexual assault, was working as a school bus driver in Italy. He is an African migrant, and apparently he was upset that Italy has been working to unburden itself from the mass of jobless African migrants the country has been suffering under. With the school bus full, he pulled it over and at knife point demanded adult chaperones to tie up the children. He reportedly said, quote, "You're all going to die. I need to avenge the deaths in the Mediterranean," end quote. As the African then began to pour gasoline all over the bus, the students and chaperones began to escape. Luckily, they all made it out alive. This story, the attempted burning alive of 50 white children, apparently doesn't warrant a front-page headline from major news media outlets. But imagine the outrage if the attempted murderer was white, and it was a bus full of black children. 12 churches have been vandalized in France over the past 2 weeks and has received very little media coverage, many top outlets not even running a story on it. But overnight, 5 mosques in England were vandalized, and many top news media outlets in England, the US, and Canada are already running stories on it. Counter-terrorism forces are already investigating. British Home Secretary said the attacks are deeply concerning. The news media reports Muslim community leaders are calling for unity and support in the face of this hate. But who is reporting calls to stand against the attacks on Christian churches in France? Where is the condemnation, the outrage that 50 children were almost burned alive today? Why isn't the African migrant and the many others like him being generalized and treated as a whole, warned against? Such as the blanket accusations that grouped all white children as potential future Brenton Tarrants by some in the news media. If the way all of this is reported and treated by our politicians isn't all just one big unhappy mess, one big coincidence, if there is a reason behind it all, a logic, this should terrify you.